Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Bianca, and I recently took a short trip to Singapore to visit some friends, explore a few new places. If you're up for a brief trip around the city-state, well, feel free to tag along. I started my day early at 7 a.m. with a plane to catch. It was way too early for my liking, but that's how you get cheaper flight tickets and sometimes an emptier plane. So I digress. The first stop upon arrival was to meet my friend Yuhan for lunch. For some context, Yuhan's technically an expatriate working in Singapore. She told me to have less breakfast before heading over, as she wanted me to save up some space for one of her favorite restaurants called Chengdu Bo. And for her to say that the food reminded her a lot about her hometown in China, you know that the mala dishes are good. Surprisingly, I also stumbled upon one of my favorite matcha dessert brunches after lunch, as I never expected to see them outside of London. So I had to introduce her to their ice cream. We later caught up with a mutual friend Christine at a popular French restaurant known as Merci Marcel, where I happened to bump into the same waitress who served me many months ago. Little did I know that she's also Malaysian just like me, and she gave us free chocolate, which was very sweet of her. We then, as fully grown women, chatted our way throughout the day. A few drinks later, I also unexpectedly found myself becoming Yuhan's fashion critic as she had some clothes shopping to do. After an afternoon with the ladies, I then set off to Bugis Junction to catch up with another friend of mine. He's a startup investor, and he later introduced me to an Indonesian coffee chain known as Foray Coffee, which was apparently a venture built by his company. I admit that I'm not a coffee drinker, but I gave their iced butterscotch sea salt latte a try, and it was surprisingly good. Later in the evening, I eventually met up with a relative who was also hosting me. She apparently had free tickets to the Singapore Flyer, so we checked out the scenery from the sky. And as a classic Singaporean tour guide move, she was kind enough to also bring me around the Helix Bridge as well as the Marina Bay Sands area to admire the nighttime view. The next day was off to another fairly early start, where I find myself at Jurong East for breakfast. Well, technically, when I say breakfast, I mean more like to check on my good old university friend to make sure she isn't dying from her PhD yet. But even then, we have no idea how we even made it to today in the first place. After that, I took a long train ride to Orchard Road, where I had a lunch date with a few former colleagues. It's kind of a strange feeling, to be honest. One day you're all working together, another day 4 years have passed and you're all catching up in a different country, but everyone's doing pretty well, and that's all that matters. Moving forward, I had a lot of guilt calories to burn off. Fortunately, I was meeting up a friend who wanted to bring me around the Rifle Range Nature Park, which became open to public only about a year ago. Truth be told, it was definitely quite a change in scenery, as I was very accustomed to the concrete jungle view of Singapore. So I'll give them credit. It's a nice and refreshing view. And then, as if I hadn't had enough hiking for the day, I met up Yuhan again for dinner and another relaxing walk around Fort Canning Park. Oh, and in case you didn't know, the registry of marriages is actually by the park. So if you're looking for a place to propose, this might be one hell of a pick. We then spent the evening chatting and eventually counting cars by the road with some good old Magnum ice cream. I had a slow start to my last day, where the plan was to finally meet my creator friend Jamie after 2 years of knowing each other online. If you need a little bit of an introduction, Jamie is a full-time YouTuber who's running a successful channel as well as a podcast. She's into productivity, well-being, and funnily enough, healthy eating. Well, long story short, she's on a wedding diet right now, so she decided to bring me to this restaurant called Super Simple. Even the name of the place sounds super healthy, but to be fair, the food is really good too. Interestingly, Jamie was telling me about the recent NAS summit that she attended over the weekends. I never knew there was such a thing, but you could actually sign up to get yourself roasted on stage by the man himself. So the irony here was that her channel was too well done for Mr. Nas to even roast her, so she got a verbal job offer instead. If anything, this is just another reminder for everyone that there are merits of putting yourself out there. But I guess the catch is that you probably need to be as good as Jamie first. And after a nice meeting in real life with the legend herself, I then took a couple of detours on the way home as I reminisce about the foods I used to get addicted to in Singapore back when I was working as an intern. And as a finale, I decided to take one final look at the jewel before I headed home and back to the grind. If you've made it thus far, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you enjoyed the brief tour. And if you could, please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and bell icon to support my channel. And in case you enjoy travel vlogs, do check out my adventures in Switzerland. Till then, take care and I shall see you in my next video. Bye bye!